Hey guys, and a warm welcome back to the Blaze TV podcast. It's Ed Kimberley with you as always, and my guest on this edition is a familiar face, someone you all know and love. It's returning defenseman Alexander Kuqali. Alexander, when I heard the news that you were coming back, buddy, it just about made my whole week. Welcome back to Coventry. We're all really looking forward to having you come back. You must be pumped to come back to the Midlands because I know you had a blast here last year.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. I'm happy to be back. I'm definitely excited. I had a lot of good conversations with most of the staff, from like Andy down to Stewie and Keno and Ethan. I really do feel like it's a good family, and they really take that to heart. And that was one of the contributing factors, right? Why you want to come back. You want to go somewhere where you're getting taken care of and they really want the best for you, not just as a player, but as a person as well. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited. Like I said in our quick little intro video, summer's it's a long time, but it'll go by just like that. So I'll be back in the West Midlands before I know it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy to think how close the team is to being done, and we're not even in at time of recording July yet. So that's really exciting. And you talked about it being like a family. I got the impression that for you last year, it just seemed like such a good fit. And when like in a team, in a dressing room, when it's a good fit, like you just know, don't you?
Yeah, you really can't fake that stuff. And
No.
I would say with our group last year, it didn't take a long time for guys to get comfortable and
Mhm.
familiar with each other. And it just kind of took off from there. We had a really hot start, and I just felt like the whole year we were building, towards something good. And obviously we
Yeah.
fell short of our goal, but to be able to look back and reflect on that, it was a really special group, and we had a lot of good human beings, and that's credit to the staff for finding good people like that, because it's always preached, it's just not always executed. So hats off to them. And that's the thing, no team will ever be the same. So
No.
we're gonna have a bunch of new guys coming in, and I have no doubt that we're gonna have the same chemistry that we did last year.
Yeah, and I think you talk about that dressing room vibe, the chemistry out on the ice. For a guy in your situation, obviously having not played the year before, that must have really helped you hit the ground running. And what was that transition like after having a year away from the game?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely missed the time in the locker room. Like I was still coaching,
Mhm.
with my brother, which, I love being with him, and some really good friends that now coach with him. But I think, the ability to get back in it and kind of know that you have more left in the tank adds to coming into a really good group of people. And I'm older than most of them, so I get kind of like the dad look, every once in a while. 'Cause- but it's fun though, because like I had people that helped me, right? We
Yeah.
all had someone who was a little older, maybe a couple more years experience to help you, the tips and the tricks on how to do something. So I always appreciated when guys would ask me, because I'd want to help, right? Like, why wouldn't you
Yeah.
want to help your teammates with anything on ice, off ice? So I had a good relationship with a lot of the guys, and I think they could say the same. And I really enjoyed my time. And what, get to meet 20, three brand new guys this year, and 20. So we got some returners. So um, working on a few others, but yeah, I can't wait to see the guys and meet some old enemies that are now teammates, and all the good stuff that hockey brings. So
That's just the way it goes sometimes, isn't it? Old enemies become friends. One guy you won't be playing with next year, he's decided to hang him up, but a guy that you played with a lot last year. I don't think many games went by when you guys weren't on a D pairing together. Was Garrett Johnston, and you guys just seem to really complement each other really well out there. Did you feel that as well?
yeah, I did. With Johnny, it was easy really from the get go, because I think we played in the coast for so long, so we kind of had that like North American style to it.
Mhm.
So most of the same things that we looked for and were taught, kind of came out through our game. So we were able to kind of sync up fairly easy right from the get go. And we talked a lot, and I kind of wanted to let him know, that when I'm out there, I kind of will be there for him to run wild and see, what he can do to join, you know what I mean? And I can take
Yeah.
care of it. But he's a great defenseman overall, top to bottom. But hey, you know what? Everyone has their time, and I wish him nothing but the best. And he's engaged now, so he'll be getting
Yeah.
married soon. But a great guy, great like on and off the ice, a lot of laughs with him. Definitely miss him, but wishing him nothing but the best moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all echo that sentiment here at the Blaze. And we talked about this just a little minute ago, but you talked about building throughout the year went on. It looked like the playoffs was something we could really have a shot at. We just fell short. Not just that, but in terms of the Challenge Cup as well. I think a similar scenario there. Topping the group and again just having a bad night in Guildford, if I remember right. How close do you think we were to silverware last year? Because it felt like we were right on the door.
I don't think there was anyone in the room that didn't think that we were capable of it, and I think that, yeah, it's tough. Like I wasn't used to that. I know a lot of guys weren't. It's just, it's not a series, right? They do the aggregate, which, I have my feelings about it, but it is what it is. It's not changing. But yeah, it's really just one big game. It's one big long game. So like even in the playoffs, we kind of, shot ourselves in the foot in game one. But it was too big of a hole to climb out of in game two. Even though we won and I thought we were dominating, we just couldn't get that third goal to put some pressure on it. And
Mm.
it's just kind of a combo of you got to just take it as anything good, anything bad. You just got to stay even keel through it, right? And know that it's a 120-minute game and not just one game, and move on to the next.
Yeah.
Learning experiences, though, right?
Yeah, that brings me on to actually a point I was going to ask you about. Obviously, being year two, you will presumably have learned a bunch from playing for the Blaze last year. So what do you think the main things are that you've learned? Because I mean, the Elite League, like you said, you talk about some of the aggregate games that we have. Obviously, there's a Challenge Cup, and not all the leagues have a competition like that in there. What did you think the main things you did learn last year?
Um, well, the one thing is like the travel is a little different. You typically, like in North America, if we were to do that long of a road trip, we would be on the road. So like you would take it as if we went up to Scotland, we would play every team
Mhm.
like 3 in 3 days or 3 in 4 days. These are all one up, one back, or you play home Saturday and then you're away Sunday. So I think the schedule, the way I was looking at it, because I know it just came out today,
Yeah.
I think they're sprinkling in more weekday games. I haven't really got to like put it on a calendar and look at it yet. So I think it'll be a little bit more condensed like that. But I would say for those longer trips, you just got to really take care of your body as
Mhm.
best as you can. A lot of stretching, because it's not easy to, go on a bus for 7 hours, basically wake up, get on a bus, warm up, play. You got to be mentally and physically dialed in to be able to expect any sort of success. So if you don't do that, well, then you're in trouble. But I thought we did a pretty good job. But there's things where by the end of the year you're kind of in a rhythm, but at
Yeah.
first you're just like, oh, it's a lot, where you do all that travel and then you're not sleeping in a hotel room, you're just bussing right back. So wears on
Yeah.
a body, wears on an older body more than a younger body.
Yeah, to be honest, I think the travel is one thing that some guys do go, oh, hey, we got to figure this out pretty quick. But look, I remember when we first met in the summer. I was probably about I would say this time last year, it was a little bit later on in the summer. I remember being struck straight away by just how incredibly professional your attitude was, and this was just having a chit chat about your career and coming over. Like it was just, oh, this is a serious professional.
Yeah, I
I
appreciate
guess
that.
taking some of that, and I know that you'll be wanting to do this as part of that mentality. You'll be wanting to be a better Alexander Kuqali next year, right? Is there anything that, aside from maybe taking care of yourself on the road a little bit better, is there anything else you'll be doing in the summer that will achieve that goal?
Yeah, well, I didn't, like you said, I didn't play the year before, and I didn't know of my opportunity, going into next year
Mm.
until very late. So, you're training but you're still, working couple summer jobs. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
And I thought, going into this summer, I'd have more of an opportunity to have a full 2.5, 3 months of really training
Hmm.
before, the season. So it'll be different. I feel like I'll be, in better shape. I'm still doing all the training with the kids. So I'm on the ice, at least a couple hours every day. So I'm getting my touches in there. I'm skating with a couple of guys that are doing the 3 ice, over
Yep.
here in North America. So that's picking up. They just played it last week. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I feel like I'm able to get like a full 3 months of a off season, and rather than kind of like a month, like a month and a
Yeah.
half until you're going somewhere. You're training, but it's always different because you're like, oh well, nothing might come up, so you have to
Yeah.
prepare for the worst, right? But
Yeah.
it's different because once you're going back, then it's like, all right, like it's game time here.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the only thing. It's just I have the more time to actually get ready and have like a proper summer like that.
For sure. Time's an asset, as you know. It's funny that you mentioned about 3 ice because we're recording this at a pretty exciting time, I guess, in the hockey world. The NHL draft day 2 finished yesterday. So, rounds 2 through to 7 or 8, however many there are now. But yeah, 3 ice has just kicked off as well, which I don't know if a lot of people know all about that, but that is a really exciting little format of hockey there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just like it's two, I think, 7-minute halves. And it's just nonstop. You know what I mean? So there's only 6 players on each team, and they have like extras just in case, but they
Yeah.
have like a backup goalie on the bench, and they have their goalies, and then so it's just 2 lines. So it's just nonstop, go,
Yeah.
go, go. And yeah, it was really cool. I got to watch a lot of my old teammates in it. Petgrave was there from Sheffield. So
Oh, yeah.
I caught up with him. I saw him, and he was on the team of one of my good buddies who I train kids with in Pittsburgh. So it was really cool. But I think it'll gain traction the more people know about it.
I think
Last
so.
year was the first year, and I think this summer they will when people start to watch it and see how high intensity, like the intensity of it. I think they'll really like latch on to it and start watching
Yeah.
more.
I completely agree. I don't know why, forgive the comparison here, but it reminds me of that slap fighting FC thing. If you watch a lot of mixed martial arts, UFC, for example, that's kind of blown up out of the back of that. In a similar way, I think 3 ice probably will, off the back of like the NHL, American League Coast, etc. But I don't want to digress too much
No.
away from hockey. Let's talk about next year a little bit because there are some familiar faces coming back, like you said. A couple of new faces in particularly in net, because I know that obviously defensemen and goalies always have a pretty close relationship. Taron Kozun, obviously from the Cardiff Devils last year, who will know he was a great goalie at this level last year, and a new guy in Nolan Kent coming out of the NCAA, who looks like a real competitor. We look really strong in net, don't we?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's nice. I think we saw, like Stewie said, I think we all kind of realized the benefits of having 2 goalies like that, where the load doesn't get placed all on one person for the whole year. It takes a lot. Like I said, like you're not, sleeping in hotels on the road, you know what I mean? You're traveling
Mm.
up, traveling back, and like there's, everything, everyone deals with everything, right? But I think it's a smart move to have, those 2 import goaltenders. So and Taryn, I actually lived with his brother in Orlando, and he was
Oh, no
with us
way.
in Orlando for a little bit, so it was cool. So and we caught up a lot last year, so it was nice to hear, when it was like, yeah, he's, coming to the Blaze. I was like, it's a great thing. He was tough for us and to play against last year, and he always played his best against us, and I think he's a real solid goaltender, and his brother was a real solid player too. So coming from a good family, good top to bottom human being. So I'm excited to definitely play with him this year and
Yeah.
meet him as well.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, they've got young Will there, who's going to be trying to, continue his progression, continue pushing these guys, picking up all those good habits from them. So I think it's probably a a good thing for his development as well. And in terms of the D, actually, I think the D, we've got more D positions open at the minute than we have forward positions, which is a pretty interesting place to be. But you've got David Clements coming back. Obviously, Clement, he's a Coventry kid. I think he was a little unlucky, probably not to be part of the GB setup this year in terms of the team that went to the Worlds. And another Cardiff Devil in Blake Thompson as well as yourself, and two really good guys by your side. Young Archie Hazeldine, of course, from Nottingham, who's going to be looking to it's in place to be, for all that up more.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit there, but yeah, like the decor, I mean, Clem, proven player, obviously, one heck of an athlete, up and down the ice, very good defensively too, a great skater, got a good slap shot. Thompson, yeah, hard to play against. Like last year, he was a thorn in our side as well, so it's nice to have him on our decor. Tough player, but good skater again, like good shot and mover, just like reliable, and that's what I try to bring too, round it out, penalty killing. Like I'd love to chip in more offensively. There were parts of my game where, I produced, and I think I've done more of that in the past, and maybe get the rust off early in the year and get off to a good start and contribute more. I'd like, get my shots on net, maybe pop a couple more in and maybe if guys buried my breakaway passes. I gave Johnny Curran enough. I can say that now that he's gone, so I can give him a little bit of grief. But no, it's an exciting group. Like Hazeldine, we got the young D2 to learn from us. So I think the quicker the team comes together and everyone gets to know each other, it goes from off ice to on ice. So we'll just hopefully reap the benefits of that, like we did last year, because it took really nothing, and we had a lot of good amount of guys who just bought in, and that I think that translated to the ice early, which is good for everyone.
For sure. It was my turn to have you break up a little bit on me there, but from what I was able to pick up, hopefully it translates back at home. Really exciting decor. A lot of praise for Thompson, obviously for David as well, who you played with last year quite a bit. But talking about the league, we're talking a lot about the Blaze and how every year you want to get better, and it looks like from top to bottom we are going to be better. The league in general looks like it's going up a notch as well too, right? Are you the kind of guy that keeps an eye on what other teams are doing? I know you said you spoke to Petgrave a couple of days ago. I think he's back in Sheffield, if I remember right. It looks like it's going to be a real good on ice product from top to bottom this year.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys who had talked to me about last year. Guys who I did not think were coming over, and they signed over, and they were mainly in North America. But I told them, I said, the hockey was much better than what I had heard, because it was kind of transforming out of like the more tougher era, I think, that like Stewie was used to. But the players, we saw last year how many good players there were, all over, and they're more than capable of playing in up top other leagues too. And I know a couple old teammates that are playing on other teams, and there's going to be some stiff competition, but I look at our squad the same way. Like the guys we have, I have complete faith in, and I know what we're capable of. But it'll be a lot of exciting hockey games. I think they're going to be very tight. And they're going to be fun for the fans to watch, and they're going to be great challenges for our group to, overcome. If we want to have that success, you got to learn to play and beat the best teams, right? So
absolutely.
And we won't know till everything's locked in, the rosters and everything. So until then, all you got to do is just worry about yourself and work as hard as you can and prepare the best way that you can.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's that attitude and some of the other stuff that you said throughout this, and when we met last summer. I just imagine you're going to have the same influence that you're going to have this year that you had last year. It just sounds like you're ready to pick up where you left off almost.
Yeah, I mean, like what else are you going to do, right? Like you got some new faces, but you have old faces too, and and we understand what we need to do to be successful, and how to position yourself. Like, we wouldn't be playing if we didn't know how.
Mm.
And we have a lot of good guys, and here's the thing, like, you don't always know everyone personally, but you play against someone enough, and most guys are good guys, right? You just don't like them when you're playing against them, right? I don't know anyone that does, even like your friends, you still want to kill them while you're out there because they're not on your team, right? And you want to win, and we're all competitive. Otherwise, like I said, we wouldn't be playing. Someone else would take our spot. So it's just fun, and it's always a challenge. And I think that's what we all love about it. And hockey is just such a great sport, and I love that it's just getting better, especially with the clientele that I know that are coming in, and who are coming back, who maybe played in it the year before.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the rosters and the guys that are playing or signing, and it's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of good hockey teams there.
You talk about that competitiveness. One of the most competitive people I've ever met in the hockey world is your coach in Stewie, and I think it's probably worth just saying a few words about him, because we're recording this on the Friday before his testimonial, and I can't think of a better guy, a guy that's contributed what he has to the Coventry Blaze to be getting a testimonial. And it must be really nice. I obviously, you've got your summer plans, you're unable to, come over and participate, but it must be amazing just to be able to watch that from afar, and to be able to, celebrate that with him in the way that you can.
Yeah, I love Stewie. Like, it just started with the first conversation we had last summer, where it was finally like, hey, like, here's my number, give me a call. Let's actually try and figure this out, and took maybe like 2 minutes to realize that we were both having like a very transparent, honest conversation. And I've never had anything but that with him. And he's probably one of my favorite coaches I've ever had, because there's no car salesman to it. He's matter of fact. He always tells you exactly where you stand, what's good, what's bad, but there's never any questioning with it. And if he's got to tell you something, he tells it to you, and it comes out hot sometimes. But I've not met a coach who delivers that message better than him. He always says the right thing, whether we need a kick in the rear or maybe, pat on the back. He always seems to have such a good read on the room and his players, top to bottom. And it was just really fun to watch and hear, because he's very inspiring, because he cares so much. He cares about the club. Like, he's played for it, you know what I mean? Like, he's coaching now. Like, he wants nothing but the best for the club and for the players. And it's either, are you along for the ride, or are you in the way? And that's how he is. He wants people that are completely bought in, and it's hard not to be that way with someone who's so passionate and cares about each person and how they do their job day to day. So I'm excited to come back. I'm excited to play for him again. It's always a treat talking to him, whether it's hockey or not. It's just what a great human being, and I'm really happy to be coming back to Coventry to play for him again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's incredible, because even just being part of the media team and part of the staff here, there's nothing he wouldn't do for us. If we needed a little clip for something, if we needed some words for a magazine or a blog or whatever, there is nothing too high that he wouldn't go to try and help. And I think as a coach, because that is genuine from him as well, that there is you kind of reflect that on the ice as well, right? Because and the other thing as well is you'll have seen him play the game, you'll understand how he played the game, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, and it was a very different era. He's been in the fire. He wouldn't expect you to do anything he hasn't already done himself, and I think there's a lot to be taken from that, isn't there?
Yeah, it's always different. Every coach has their own style, right? But I think it's easier to get behind someone who is leading the charge, right? Not just telling people from the back what to do. Like you said, anything he would ask us to do, he would do first, without hesitation, without question. So that's where you talk with them, they're always very clear-cut conversations. You know how he's feeling, you know what he expects. And that's the easiest way, I think, to move about things, because there's no gray area, right? Like, this is what he demands, this is what he wants out of us, this is what we expect to do. And you can only go up from there, I think. So, but what a competitor. Even in practice, it's fun, it gets fired up, but it's good, you know what I mean? It's good for everyone, right? Because you keep the intensity high, and he always keeps us accountable. And I don't think you could ask for anything else of your coach as a player.
Sure. Here. Those are very well said words. Xander, I am really pumped about next season. Every new face that comes our way, every little bit of news, every day that goes by, we get closer. I'm really pumped, and this is just added to that. So thank you for putting a little bit of time aside to speak to us again.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And I know the fans appreciate it. I got a lot of love when they found out that I was coming back, and I love the Blue Army. I appreciate everyone. And I try to tell everyone that, whether guys are tired, or, we're coming off a bus, or, we're getting on the bus to go back home. It's not always communicated, but like, I really do love our fans, and Halby told me that when I first got there, how they always have your back. Win, lose, draw, like tough loss, or you get blown out, like, it's always, hey, get the next one, right? Like, we got your back. And you just can't say enough good things about that. So ready to see everyone back in the Sky Dome, ready to get the practices and the season going, and a couple months until then, but it'll come by like nothing. So Ed, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. We get to see that big old smile of yours, and everyone.
Always.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, this has been a pleasure as always. I really appreciate again Alexander for putting his time aside. Plenty more of these to come throughout the summer, and hope to see you at Danny's testimonial tomorrow. Take it easy. Bye for now.